Doom, the game that needs no introduction. Indisputably one of the most influential games in the history of gaming, Doom can be pointed out as the father of the first-person shooter genre. Sure, it wasn't the first game to be in first person and where you shoot stuff, not even by their own developers. But unlike those games, Doom introduced concepts and ideas that are still being used and iterated upon to this day. It holds up so well that you can pick up a copy of Ultimate Doom on Steam today, play through it, and still have a great experience. From graphics, gameplay, level design, it is a game that doesn't seem to age. But you read the title. This video isn't about Classic Doom or Doom 2, it's about the 2016 reboot and its sequel. After a very different take on Doom 3 and a failed attempt at a fourth entry, the folks at id Software went back to the drawing board. They wanted to go back to what made Doom special, the fast-paced action, level exploration, high-octane demon-killing simulator that were the first couple of titles. They wanted to bring the same gameplay to a modern audience, without compromising what made Doom, Doom. And the result, well... the result was this. The game was an instant hit. After a saturation of military shooters since the mid-2000s, this was a refreshing take on the genre that saw it go back to its roots. No longer were you running out of breath trying to reach the next cover just to slowly regenerate your health, or aiming down sights with a generic assault rifle, following orders from Captain Major Sergeant. This was Doom. It felt faster, bloodier, more visceral and more powerful than anything at the time. No longer were you Marine number 420, you're the Doom Slayer, ripping and tearing demons with your bare hands. With the success of the Doom reboot, it was inevitable that it would give us a sequel, and just a few years later, we got Doom Eternal. It was everything we could have hoped for. It was even faster, even bloodier, the demons were bigger, better, badder, you got more movement, more tools, it was just Doom 2016 but better. Right? I think it's at this point that I should play some disclaimers, just so we're all on the same page on what this video is about. First, this video is not Doom 2016 is better than Doom Eternal. This is not a judgment on whether Doom Eternal is a better game or not. Second, I absolutely love Doom Eternal. I have exponentially more time invested on it than on Doom 2016. I would even say that, in isolation, it is the one I prefer out of the two.
So why even make this video? What are you trying to say? Are you just that stupid?
And third, what this video is about is the design philosophy of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, and why I think that Doom 2016 is the better Doom game, and try to explain what I mean with that. Are we good? We good. First off, while I know this video will devolve into a series of side tangents and rants, I will try my best to tackle specific aspects of the game one by one. And I will start with an easy one, something most people agree Doom 2016 did better than Doom Eternal, and that is the atmosphere. Doom 2016 is an interesting game, because it's not following up on the last game in the franchise, being Doom 3. It's trying to both reboot and continue the legacy that the first two Doom games left behind, both in terms of story and atmosphere. That means there's not a lot to work with. The story is all but non-existent, and while the levels of classic Doom were very creative and diverse for the time, when viewed under a modern lens, much of it blends together, and it ends up being just a series of corridors with not much thought put into them beyond it plays good. Whenever you're playing any given level in Doom, you never stop and think if that place could really exist, because 99% of the time, it couldn't. It was just an excuse to kill demons in different and interesting areas and combinations. So, how do you take that and make something that works in the modern era? Well, the folks at id Software came up with a solution. You go back to the base premise and ask, what will a demon invasion look like? And the result is this. The game has some great atmosphere. It's not a horror because it's kinda hard to make you feel scared or even threatened when you're the sole reason demons can't sleep at night. But it's definitely unsettling when you stop and take a look around you. You can really take in how horrible, how tragic the whole event was to the UAC facility. Bodies everywhere, dismembered, bludgeoned to death, structures falling, and a great amount of environmental storytelling. In any given room, you can take a look, figure out roughly what the purpose of said room was, how it connects with the rest of the facility, and the damage that the Hell invasion caused. That's for the environment, but a big part of building the atmosphere also comes from the Slayer himself. The entire game is viewed from a first-person perspective. And yes, I mean the entire game. That goes a long way to make you feel like you are the Doom Slayer. You are seeing the devastation just as the Slayer is seeing it. The anger the Slayer feels is the same anger you feel. One of the best demonstrations of this is right at the start of the game, where Hayden is trying to justify this disaster, and neither you nor the Slayer are having any of it. Almost everything in the game is included diegetically, which makes it feel like a real place. Keycards are picked up from dead humans, switches have to be manually activated, any weapons you pick up is manually picked up by the Slayer. Environments make sense spatially as well as the location of the different items you collect. The Slayer picking up a chainsaw from a dead staff member split in half, or the super shotgun, or finding the Delta V jump boots from the storage area. Everything is well thought out to make sense in the world. Heck, the existence of those boots makes sense and gives context to the double jump diegetically. It's not some random floating icon that you walk over and magically equip, it's an actual in-universe explanation for the ability. The whole game also feels like a journey. Every level transitions very logically to the next level, and the Slayer has to, for the most part, physically travel from his current location to their destination. A couple of levels are just the travel, where the immediate objective of the Slayer is in the next level. It makes it all feel like a real, living place that could exist. I feel like the demons are their own kind of worms, but I don't think anyone will get mad at me for saying that they look a lot more demonic and otherworldly here than they do in Eternal. Most people won't notice the difference, but when you take a closer look, you can see they're more disgusting, with more animalistic and hellish features like whited out eyes, a slimier texture on the outside, and are generally more horror inspired, which is what you want for a literal hellspawn. In short, it feels like a well-deserved evolution of the much more simpler, more arcadey style of the first titles. It feels like the essential example of modernizing a genre without losing its identity. Everything that made the originals great is still there, but now it's all more developed, more detailed, integrated into the world in a way that makes sense. It's all more cohesive, and it makes for something that feels less like an excuse for gameplay and more like a whole experience. With such an impressive base to work off of, and now with more resources thanks to the success of the first game, surely the guys at id did an amazing job with the sequel. Whoa, no! Yeah, this is just bad. Credit where credit is due though. The video is about being a sequel to the classic Doom games, and this sure looks a lot more like those games. So let's start with the environments. At first glance, there's nothing wrong, really. Everything looks nicer, cleaner, there's more varied environments, and there's more of them. What's the issue here? Well, the problems start anytime you stop to actually think about the place you're in. Take this level, for example, and just take a look at the building. At first glance, everything looks normal, but then you look at it closer. Why is this room here? Why are the hallways like this? Does this door lead to nowhere? How is it still standing over this concrete island? Or, if you want to make a more fair comparison, look at this. This is an UAC structure, same as in Doom 2016. Why is it like this? Does it make sense? And why is there a section that loops in on itself? Does this look functional to you? There's not a story being told, there's just a series of interconnected rooms for you to do combat in. It's very clear that the environments and environmental storytelling took a backseat in the service of gameplay. Make as many combat arenas as you can and connect them in any way you can, even if it doesn't make sense. And that's when they even try to connect them in a logical way. I got a question for you. What is this? I want you to try and come up with a reason for this to be here. What purpose does it fulfill for the demons? What kind of tactical advantage does it give them? And what about this? What could possibly make these things just be here, perfectly aligned for the Slayer to use them to climb onto the other building? And it's not about contrivances, which the game is full of contrivances, but I'm getting ahead of myself. It's that it's both a contrivance, and it's also completely random and not really logical. But even then, that wouldn't be as bad as this. What is this? Could anyone explain to me who at it thought this was a good idea? I just want to have a conversation. This, I think, is one of the clearer examples of the direction of the game compared to Doom 2016. Where that game wanted you to feel it was a living, breathing, real place that could exist outside of the player's influence, Doom Eternal is very firmly a video game. You are not immersing yourself in a world swept by chaos, destruction and death, slowly making your way to right the wrongs of others, cleansing this place of the hellish infestation that doomed it. You're a player, playing a video game, controlling a playable character. That is even reflected in the cutscenes, where before they were exclusively in first person, or even when introduced diegetically where you didn't lose control of the game, now they're just third person cutscenes of the character Doom Slayer, which isn't you, doing things that you don't understand or can't do. And the glowing, floating weapons and items are a perfect example of that. You also just teleport to each level, literally, before going back to the main menu, or in this case the Fortress of Doom, before you select the next level you want to play. And before anyone says, but the Fortress of Doom is a diegetic way of going from one level to the next, just no, it doesn't work, it just brings more questions than answers. Like, why do you need specific cells to open doors? Why does it look like a castle but functions as a spaceship? Why was a power crystal just in the middle of the deck but the rest are behind closed doors? Why are there closed doors that lead to nowhere? And I will tackle the story later, but why does the Slayer have a Fortress of Doom? How did he get it? How long has he been there? So yeah, the atmosphere and environments were not really that great, and even felt like a downgrade. Surprisingly enough, it's not that they ditched the story. In fact, Doom Eternal is much more plot heavy than its predecessor, with a lot more dialogue and cutscenes. Surely they built upon what they had on Doom 2016 and just made it better, right? Let's talk about that. First off, if you're thinking, the story doesn't matter, nobody plays Doom for the story, it's the gameplay that people care about, then let me ask you this. Why did they focus more on the story then? At the end of the day, id decided to tell more of a plot-heavy story with Doom Eternal, and it's disingenuous to just dismiss any criticism of it because it's Doom. If the story really didn't matter, then the devs would have just made a simple plot to get you from point A to point B, with little depth and complexity, exactly how they did Doom 2016. and since it thought it was important enough to focus on it, I will too. So, what's the story in the new Doom games? Well, I'll tell you what it was. Doom 2016 acted as a soft reboot at the time, although we weren't sure if it was a hard reboot until later, where they don't directly dismiss the story of any previous games, but it's clear we're starting fresh and you should focus on the now. The Doom Slayer replaced the Doom Marine, or Doom Guy if you're cool. A stronger, more vicious, and much more interesting protagonist than the generic Marine we were used to, both in other games as well as in Doom proper. You slowly discover that the Doom Slayer is an ancient being, a human that has been battling demons in hell since millennia ago. You were trapped by the demons, by throwing an entire building on you because you're that unstoppable, and now after a long slumber, you wake up to find Mars infested with the hellspawn you've been fighting for so long. The actual plot for Doom 2016 is very simple. The source of the invasion is a woman, Olivia Pierce, who has been manipulated by the demons, presumably the Dark Lord, to unleash hell onto the human world. I hesitate to say open a portal to hell because the UAC has been traveling to hell and back multiple times, but never was it overrun by hell forces. Anyway, Olivia fucked up, and now you have to stop her from further strengthening the connection between Mars and hell. You meet Hayden, who is your guide through the facility and explains what's going on. You're chasing her, doing miscellaneous things in the process like fixing satellites to assess the Hell invasion progress and finding ways of transportation. You fail to stop her ultimate plan and must find an alternative way to go to Hell and sever the connection between the worlds. You get a powerful artifact called the Crucible, which will presumably help you in that quest. You find a way to go back to Hell by destroying Vega, a supercomputer to manage Mars. You drain the energy powering the Hell portal and kill the Spider Mastermind aka Olivia Pierce before leaving with a cliffhanger. I'm obviously skipping through a lot of stuff, but that's because the direct plot of Doom 2016 is not that important. What got gamers really going was the lore. The lore. The thing that keeps From Software fans up at night. The only form of storytelling that Scott Cawthon knows. MatPat's most consistent source of income. Editor's note, I've been working on this video for a very long time and 2 of those jokes have aged very poorly. Sorry about that? Also, good luck on your new endeavors, MatPat. Lore in Doom 2016 takes the form of codex entries, as well as a lot of environmental storytelling, as stated before. In them, you find out a lot more about who the Doom Slayer is, or rather what he does to demons. The Slayer was in Hell since the First Age, and we're in the Fourth Age. We also get hints that the Doom Slayer is actually the Doom Marine after staying in Hell since Doom 64. We get to know a bit about Samuel Hayden, director of the UAC, and how he harnessed Argent Energy, aka Hell Energy, to solve the human energy crisis, which he does successfully. He was a human, but he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and so he found a way to essentially become immortal by placing parts of his brain in a 3-meter tall robotic body. We also get to know more about Olivia, and how she descended into madness, conducting more and more demonic experiments and rituals. It's all really interesting, and it gives depth to both the characters and the world of the game. It's vague and mysterious, but also intriguing and, most importantly, consistent. So, what the hell happened here? Doom Eternal is one of the most frustrating, confusing, inconsistent stories I have ever had the displeasure of trying to make sense of. This section will get really ranty, so if you don't really care about the story, you can skip to this timestamp. But if you care, even a little bit, oh boy, you're in for a treat. Let's start where the game starts. You're in a flying castle? Okay. What happened at the end of Doom 2016? What happened to Hayden? Did he use the Crucible for evil and now opened a portal to Hell on Earth? Wait, why does your armor look different? Is that exposed skin? I thought the Praetor suit was airtight and impenetrable. Alright, so you teleported to a demon structure on Earth? Alright, let's... Whoa, who is this guy? What's that medallion? Did he just say something about his soul? Is that Vega talking to you? What is happening? Doom Eternal hits the ground sprinting and doesn't stop. There is no explanation whatsoever of what's going on. There is a ton of information just dumped onto you. Now the Doomslayer seems like he knows way more than you do, and you're hopping back and forth to different locations trying to kill these Hell Priests without actually knowing who they are or why. And now there's Lovecraftian beings that are the replacement of angels who are also evil and working with the demons. Because fuck thematic consistency, am I right? And there's a bunch of people who know who the Slayer is, including these angels, and there's the Betrayer, and the Slayer bows down to a Ghost King, and now Hayden is all broken and he's the leader of the Earth Resistance? What happened with the whole Argent energy and the energy crisis that he was dealing with? And now the UAC are bad and they're working with the demons and their Crucible is just a glorified battery and... You see, the story of Doom Eternal managed to somehow become both way too complex and also much shallower. When you boil it down, it's about the Slayer trying to kill the 3 Hell Priests because them being alive is what allows Hell to invade. Except when you kill all 3, the Khan Maker can still invade Earth, somehow, and so you go and kill her, and the Super Demon, the Icon of Sin, that she awoke. And yet, it has so many characters, elements and plot points that, at a certain point, it becomes unmanageable. There are so many lore elements that intrude into the main plot that you either read the lore or just don't bother with the plot at all. And oh my god, the lore. Not only is the lore confusing by itself, it also erases almost everything that Doom 2016 established, and it becomes inconsistent with itself. What happened to the Doomslayer after Hayden basically trapped him? Who cares? Was Olivia's shenanigans in Mars responsible for the Earth invasion? I don't know, it seems to be independent. Wasn't Argent du Nord the source of the power opening a portal to Hell? Well, actually, Argent du Nord is just a planet that was at war with Hell, and it still exists. That rocking Hell just got confused with the whole world. So, did the Dark Lord of the 4th Age manipulate Olivia? Well, actually there are no multiple Dark Lords, there's only the one. But don't worry, id will also retcon that in the DLC, because they forgot about the whole 4th Age thing and now they need to fix that. And what happened with... Well, it kinda doesn't really work with the lore now, so either there are no ages or the Doomslayer was trapped for 3 ages, which is just moronic. And the DLC. My head still hurts from trying to understand that mess. Okay, so Samuel Hayden was actually Summer Maker, the Seraph that granted you your powers through the Divinity Machine. And Vega, which was very clearly just an AI tasked with watching over all of Mars, is actually the Father, the most powerful being in existence from which all of creation was born, who created worlds just by walking on empty space. Except no, because the Dark Lord actually created the Father, but he's also not the Father because the Father's life sphere is held in the Inner Sanctum, and with that they can actually bring back the Father, and also Summer Maker is dying or something, because without the Father he succumbed to the Transfiguration, but just now, eons after the Father was gone for some reason. It's all just... too much. On a related note, the Doomslayer just feels weird throughout the entire thing. We all get he's supposed to be the definition of man literally too angry to die, but by making the Doomslayer more of his own character, they made some weird decisions to his personality. For example, in the Fortress of Doom he has a man cave. It's complete with a 90s era PC with both Doom and Doom 2 installed, guitars, books, a workshop where you can see he's been working on his old suit, whatever. He has his modifications and shoulder-mounted grenades, a skateboard, toys. He's not an unfeeling, unrelenting man. He's just angry at the demons and the people responsible for them invading the humans. Heck, when he picks up a mini Doom figure, both in 2016 and Eternal, He plays with it and you can picture him with a little smile on his face. But that's not what you see in cutscenes. He's just angry at everyone, even the people trying to help him. The moment I really took notice was when he comes back with the Dark Lord's life sphere. Oh yeah, that also happened, he destroyed the father's life sphere for no reason and brought back the Dark Lords. And when everyone runs away, rightfully so, the intern stays and tells the Slayer he understands that he wants to bring back the Dark Lord to destroy him, so he's going to help. And the Slayer just walks. Like, he doesn't even nod to him like, yes, you are right. Nothing. For all we know, the intern might not be right and the Slayer just went insane. Was it so hard to make him at least appreciate the intern staying back and manning the machine he needs to travel to all of these places? Also, what the fuck is a primeval, Hugo? Stop doing this. So yeah, Doom Eternal's story is a mess. Hugo Martin decided to leave behind the biblical hell roots the game had, and which Doom 2016 continued and went straight into Lovecraftian lore. And just like those Lovecraftian stories, it too was convoluted beyond all belief. But let's face it, everything I've said until now is not why people love Doom Eternal so much. All of the environments, all of the atmosphere, all of the story, all of that can set aside if the gameplay is good. And yes, it is good. It is great, in fact, one of the best shooters I've ever played. There are no rants, no tangents, no criticisms or fuck-ups, the gameplay is just great. But I still think Doom 2016 did a better job at being a Doom game. Here's why. I will tackle things on the opposite order this time. Let's see what Doom Eternal does and let's compare it to the other games. And since gameplay encompasses multiple areas, this will probably be a messier part of the video, but I will try my best to keep everything as cohesive as humanly possible. Doom Eternal, I feel, has been explored, analyzed and dissected to hell and back by people who have many more hours than me and who are probably much better at the game. That being said, with 140 hours of playtime and having completed the game multiple times on anything but Ultra Nightmare difficulty, I think it's fair to say I get Doom Eternal. The game has an almost surgically curated combat loop that takes into account all weapons in your arsenal, with every weapon having its use, specific demons it's effective against, attributes, effects with other elements of the game like the utility tools. It's a work of art, really. Take any given gameplay scenario, and while there is a lot of creativity possible from the player, you can almost pinpoint the decision making of said player by looking at what weapon they switch to or what enemy they prioritize. And it's so meticulously crafted that even the game points out the exact moment you have enough weapons and tools to engage with all aspects of the combat loop. While I won't go into every weapon and tool available, let's run through one level with the complete arsenal. You start by using your meat hook to create some distance between you and the bigger demons, taking pot shots at weaker demons with a sticker grenade or precision bolt. Weapon switching between your power weapons like the ballista and the rocket launcher to damage stronger demons, using specific weapons for specific demons, like a charged ballista shot to one-shot Kako demons, or finding a clean moment to unload the chain gun on a tyrant or hell knight, using flame belch and a blood punch in a crowded area to recover good amounts of shield, or freezing a Baron of Hell before doing a 2 or even 3 power weapon combo on his face. You've also got the grenade, which many won't use properly, but has a very specific function to stagger bigger enemies, either giving you a chance to breathe or allowing you to get close safely and unload a super shotgun round on them. Another big part of the gameplay is keeping an eye on your resources, as Doom Eternal has many of them recharged on a cooldown, and the ammo pool is significantly smaller than in 2016, and doubly so for the classic games. Like I said earlier, the grenade is an overlooked tool in your arsenal, but you can only throw them so often. The Flame Belch and Freeze Grenade are excellent ways to recover health and health part 2, but again, they are on a cooldown. On the other hand, you can't really spam rockets or super shotgun blasts against bigger demons, as they run out real fast, and your main ammo resource, the chainsaw, is also on a cooldown. Not to mention, you have to find a suitable victim in the chaos, which means getting your attention away from the more immediate threats. It's a beautiful balancing act where you're constantly looking at the next thing to recover. prioritizing some enemies based on what weapons you have ammo for, as well as which utilities you have on cooldown. There's always a way for you to recover resources in the middle of a battle, and no matter how difficult it gets, it always feels fair and like there's a way to recover and keep fighting. Finding that glory kill to recover health and recharge the blood punch, throwing that clutch grenade that staggers a mancubus just enough to kill him. You're never too low on health or too low on ammo, and that's by design. So that's all fantastic, and the reason the game has received so much praise, deservedly so, over the years. The combat arenas are also expertly designed, with enough variation to hold people for hundreds of hours. However, there's one big omission in that run through a level, and that's what happens in between these combat arenas. No, I won't complain about the platforming challenges. I think they're perfectly reasonable pace breakers and are not badly designed for the most part. Even with combat being as good as it is, you can't grind the player with constant action or you'll just exhaust them. No, what I want you to look at, which encapsulates most of my criticisms with the game, is this. This is an armor pickup. This is my reward for engaging in exploration in between combat encounters. And you want to know what I feel when I get this? Nothing. This is meaningless. The only effect of me grabbing this armor pickup is delaying the time in between me starting my next combat arena and me using the flame belch for the first time. And these are even more meaningless. The game already gives you health when killing a demon while at low health, and you can force that to happen no matter what with a freeze grenade. And because these tools are on a cooldown, you can start your next encounter with a flame belch plus freeze grenade combo and recover a good chunk of health and armor. Moreover, ammo is less of a concern, because a half full refill of your entire weapon wheel is just one zombie away. It being the left face button on a controller really solidifies a funny joke I thought of, because it really feels like they removed reloading from Doom 2016, just to bring it back on Doom Eternal, but a bit more complicated. You may have noticed I've avoided using a certain term, a certain string of words almost everyone uses when describing this game, and that's resource management. And that's because I believe there's less resource management on this game than any other in the Doom franchise. Hot take? Maybe, but it's difficult to have any other conclusion when there is exactly 2 resources, one of which is temporary, that don't have an instant way to recover during combat. There is no incentive to save any of your resources. You always have access to all of them, or you have access to the tool that lets you recover another. Yes, it is a balancing act of when and where you use which resource, but never in a way where you're punished for not having a certain one or rewarding for saving a specifically useful thing. And it makes sense. Like I said earlier, the combat loop has been very meticulously designed to use every and all aspects of your kit. This means, however, that the game can't risk you not having access to one tool of said kit. Otherwise, the whole combat encounter could fall flat and feel unfair. It is an inevitability of the combat loop that necessitates resource redundancy. However, that unfortunately comes at the cost of exploration and overall level design. There are very few instances where exploration truly feels rewarding, and yet it's necessary to fully upgrade this layer. In fact, the correct way between one combat arena and the next is extremely evident, so that you're kind of automatically just advancing towards the next set of demons to kill, with very little demon presence, sometimes not at all, in between these arenas. This, combined with the non-diegetic design of the levels, really makes it evident that the team at id Software really wanted to push you forward to the next combat arena, and everything else could take a backseat. And this isn't all to say that Doom Eternal is a bad game because of the setbacks on level design or exploration. See disclaimer number 2. However, I can't help but pause and compare Doom Eternal to the classic games. And that begs the question, what makes a Doom game Doom? Well, if we look at the original Doom and Doom 2, the games are far simpler. You begin the game with a pistol, but you will probably find a shotgun on the first level. This will actually act as your main weapon for the first few levels. The levels are designed with different predetermined demon encounters, and are very usually mini puzzle boxes, requiring you to find a specific keycard or trigger a specific door to open. Exploration is rewarded with ammunition, health pickups and armor pickups. You will also occasionally find weapons much earlier if you find the appropriate secret room. Ah yes, secrets are also very well rewarded, with things like berserker packs, weapons, big health pickups, stronger armor, and sometimes even a mega sphere, which maxes out your health double the base amount. The game is very easy to pick up and play, and most weapons do a good job at killing demons, some better than others, and some are effective against specific enemies. Not by increasing damage or weak points, but as a result of their firing pattern. The shotgun might as well be called a rifle, as it's very accurate and kills basic zombies in a single shot, being very effective against hit-scan enemies. The chainsaw is best used against pinkies, to preserve ammo for other weapons. Kako demons can be stun-locked with a chain gun, saving you from their annoying projectiles. Rockets should be saved for the big guys, as they pack a lot of damage, but they aren't as easy to combine. From Doom 2, the Super Shotgun is a very powerful, very versatile weapon that can be used in most situations, but isn't the best at any given one. It will be your go-to on any given moment, until you can scan the room and start using more appropriate tactics. The Plasma Rifle is another excellent all-rounder that deals a lot of damage and doubles as a stagger weapon like the chain gun. It is only restrained by its use of ammo, which is not only sparse, but it's also shared with its older sister, the BFG 9000. The game also tests your resource management skills. Yes, you could spend all day whittling down this army of pinkies, but if you saved your rockets or explored this level and found some, you can just mow them down much more quickly. There's also no health regeneration mechanic, so you have to make do with what you're given. Speaking of your health, it is mostly capped at 100. So you really need to consider if recovering those 15 health points are worth grabbing an entire medkit or if you're better off coming back to it later. Armor suddenly becomes much more important as it reduces the amount of damage you receive, and different armor types have different levels of efficiency. In that sense, finding that blue armor feels like a huge reward for exploring the level, and greatly increases your chances of survival. It all comes together to give all aspects of your arsenal a sense of importance. All in all, Doom games are a beautiful mix of quick reflexes, strategy, resource management and level exploration that both make use of traditional combat arenas and bite-sized encounters to mix up the pacing. Its levels are intricately designed, with doors and keycards making you explore and backtrack through areas, and rewards secret hunting with weapons, armor and other goodies. Most weapons are universally effective, but every weapon has its use. Every level feels like its own contained experience, but they all lead into each other, either thematically or design-wise. And it's all... wait a minute... Doom 2016 is just Doom. This is the crux of the video. I opened the video with an explanation of Doom 2016 being an evolution of classic Doom, but I didn't really explore how it adhered to the design philosophies of the classic games so well. And yet, I've been listing the reasons this entire time. Doom 2016 is a bit more linear than classic Doom, but it also explores all of the themes and design patterns of the old games. Intricate levels, less emphasis on specific combat arenas and a more free-flow perspective on enemy encounters, more open environments. Heck, here's an armor pickup. This is a good find. This will materially help me in my next enemy encounter, as it will increase my amount of health in a way that can't be done during combat. This is good design. It also plays more with resource management than Doom Eternal, ironically enough. While you do get to recover health either when low on health or via glory kills, you do not get to recover armor, which is why the previous armor pickup makes sense and feels rewarding. Armor is a limited resource, so is ammo. While you still have the chainsaw, it does not regenerate AP on cooldown and thus cannot be used to have essentially infinite ammo. You have to rely on what you find in the level. And it also serves a double function, where if you're especially good with your ammo and don't use the chainsaw too often, you can use it as an instant kill for bigger enemies. It's rewarding your good use of ammo and smart choice of weapons. Doom 2016 also rewards exploration much more heavily. Yes, it rewards you with upgrade points and collectibles just like Eternal, but it also comes with finding weapons early, the aforementioned armor pickups, and it can hide more weapon mods behind exploration because it doesn't rely on them for the combat loop, unlike Eternal. There's also the relic challenges, which are its own kind of optional reward. It all feels so much more Doom. And if you're still not convinced, let me use the ultimate demonstration of what I mean: the game's use of the originals. This is how Doom 2016 pays homage to its predecessors. Fully recreated levels, completely playable on the new engine, and for the most part they're fully enjoyable on said engine. The game works with the old levels, because the design philosophy is still fundamentally very similar, if not the same. Meanwhile, with Doom Eternal we have this, which is cute. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome on its own nostalgic kind of way. But it's very clear to me that the guys at it thought that they couldn't pull the same trick twice because the levels will be jarring, if not unplayable, with the new combat mechanics. Or otherwise, they didn't care enough to make them work. And unfortunately, care might be the right word here. Something else that was lost in between the games was something very cherished by the Doom community, and that's the creative drive to make original content. Yes, I am talking about SnapMap. While unfortunately it didn't take off like it wanted to, it still carried the legacy of the old Doom mods that are still being made to this day. It was completely unnecessary, and yet they decided to include it. And people were passionate about it, for as little as it was used. In the sequel, we don't have anything like it. And don't get me started on the multiplayer, that could be its own video. So yeah, while Doom Eternal is an excellent, masterful game that does with FPS combat something so unique it's still being talked about to this day, I can't help but wonder, did we lose something in the way? Could have this been something other than Doom? Maybe the Quake revival that we actually deserved? I mean, the Lovecraftian horrors were already there. I guess it's frustrating how much people claim Doom 2016 has no place nowadays, for Doom Eternal is just better in every way. Doom 2016 does matter. It may be slower, yes, but it's also much closer to what a Doom game was for me, for many of us. It's the closest thing we have to a Doom and Doom 2 remake. Most boomer shooters nowadays are going for the extremely fast-paced, stylish, weapon swapping style of Doom Eternal, and they are all fantastic on their own right. But where does that leave games like Doom 2016 and by extension Classic Doom? Is there no place for a slower paced Doom game? A game where you slowly build your arsenal through a combination of combat and exploration? Where in the end you feel unstoppable through both skill and preparation? There's a famous quote from Hugo Martin. When talking about funneling players into what he calls the fun zone, he says there's a fun way to play, which would be the right way to play. But with Doom 2016, there were a lot of people who would find just using the super shotgun was good enough, and they wouldn't learn the right way to play. So for Doom Eternal, if they don't play the right way,
we kill them, right? Pretty much.
This has always been held as something good, something to strive for. And to be honest, that's never sat well with me. Yes, some ways of playing are more fun than others, but also everyone's different. What if someone played Doom 2016 very slowly, because they're not that proficient at action games, but really enjoyed it? Are they not allowed to enjoy its direct sequel? What if killing them just makes them quit? We have praised accessibility options over the past few years, with things like The Last of Us 2 and Spider-Man. And yet, when presented with a direct sequel, raising the bar of entry significantly is praised? Who is the arbiter of fun here? There's also this quote: "A power fantasy earned will always be more satisfying than a power fantasy that had been given." And once again, I've been puzzled by this quote, because while it is true, does it really apply to Doom 2016? What does given mean in this context? Is building a strong character with stronger equipment, more health that deals more damage, not earning that power fantasy? Is it exclusively skill that separates earned versus given? Is Doom 2016 not a hard game in and of itself? These are the kind of quotes that reinforce my belief. Doom Eternal may be the best game in the Doom franchise, but it's not the best Doom game. Doom: The Dark Ages is right around the corner, and everything Hugo has said about it up to its announcement is that he wants to slow down for this next game. The analogy keeps changing every time he says it, but the most commonly shared one right now is that if Doom Eternal was a fighter jet, then Doom TDA is going to be more like a monster truck. He also specifically mentioned the classic games in the reveal, coming back to more strafe dodging, exploration on bigger levels, and other things. Only time will tell if these changes truly bring the series back to its roots. But I just hope that this next Doom game is a Doom game. Thank you for watching. And that's the end of the video. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching until the end. It really means the world to me. This is my first proper YouTube video and a project years in the making, so I really appreciate it. I couldn't have done it without the help and encouragement of my friends, so thank you so much for helping me out. Special shoutouts to Kohana for calling me stupid in the beginning of the video. Also shoutout to Bellomancer for being a great friend and staying with me throughout the whole process. Couldn't have done it without you, buddy. And special thanks to Liam Triforce for not only helping me with some video editing stuff and teaching me some Adobe Premiere stuff, but also inspiring this video in the first place. This video is heavily inspired by his style and the way he makes video essays. So yeah. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and who knows, maybe I'll see you soon. Bye bye.